Welcome to Cozy Reading Club, the podcast where we read the book and tell you about it so you don't have to. Last time, we left Odysseus having just finished recounting his absolutely wild final sea voyages to the Phaeacians. Think shipwrecks, monsters, the whole shebang.
And it was quite a story he spun, wasn't it? You could see why the Phaeacians, masters of seafaring themselves, would be both impressed and, well, moved by his resilience.
Absolutely, and moved they were. Enough to finally sail him home to Ithaca. Book 13th kicks off with Odysseus asleep on their swift ship, and they deliver him, along with a pile of treasure, right onto his native shores. It's the homecoming he's longed for, but it's almost too neat, don't you think?
Indeed. The hand of fate, or perhaps a particularly grumpy sea god, rarely lets things go that smoothly. We can't forget Poseidon's simmering anger over Odysseus blinding his son.
Oh.
That hasn't just, vanished.
Oh, that's right. He'd warned the Phaeacians about helping Odysseus way back when. So what's the fallout this time? Does Odysseus' ship get sunk right as he lands?
No, not Odysseus' ship this time, thankfully.
Yeah.
But as the Phaeacian ship makes its return journey, well, Poseidon makes a rather dramatic statement.
Okay.
In a fit of divine pique, he turns their ship into a stone monument right there in the harbor of Scheria. It's a stark warning, really, about the consequences of defying the gods.
Wow. Talk about a memorable homecoming gift for the Phaeacians. So Odysseus finally wakes up on Ithaca after all these years. You'd imagine he'd be, overcome with joy, but that's not quite how it plays out, is it?
No. Athena, his ever-present guardian, she casts a mist over the island.
A mist.
Yeah. And this disorientation isn't just a plot device. It really highlights Odysseus' vulnerability even as he reaches his goal. He's physically home, but he's still very much adrift in his own reality.
Huh. It's like arriving in your hometown after a long absence and everything looks subtly different. Sort of familiar, but not quite right. So, lost and confused, who guides him?
Athena herself appears, naturally. This time in human form, though. She clears the mist from his eyes, reveals that this is indeed Ithaca, and then lays out the grim reality of what awaits him at his palace. It's definitely not the celebratory welcome he might have hoped for.
No, it's the dreaded suitors, isn't it? This pack of, entitled freeloaders who've been camped out in his home, eating him out of house and home, and aggressively pursuing Penelope. Sounds like chaos.
Precisely. They're not just consuming his resources, they represent a direct threat to his household, his wife, his legacy. So Athena devises a classic heroic strategy: disguise.
Okay, let's unpack this disguise. What's the thinking behind it? Why a disguise now?
Well, she transforms Odysseus into an old beggar.
A beggar.
Yeah. This allows him to move among his enemies unnoticed, gather crucial intelligence, assess the strength of the opposition, and importantly, identify who remains loyal. It's a brilliant way to sort of infiltrate the lion's den.
Very clever, playing the underdog. So where does beggar Odysseus go first? Where does he ground himself?
Athena directs him to the hut of his faithful swineherd, Eumaeus. He's this figure of quiet loyalty in a palace that's just overflowing with treachery.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Athena herself heads off to Sparta to nudge Telemachus homeward. You can see the pieces starting to move on the board now.
They are indeed. And in book 14th, beggar Odysseus finds Eumaeus. What's striking about their first meeting? Does Eumaeus have any inkling, any idea who this old vagrant really is?
Absolutely none. Zero. What's so telling is Eumaeus' immediate and genuine hospitality. Despite having very little himself, he welcomes the stranger, offers him food and shelter,
Right.
demonstrating that fundamental respect for the guest-host relationship, a cornerstone of their society that the suitors so flagrantly violate.
That contrast really speaks volumes, doesn't it? Odysseus, ever the strategist, he doesn't just spill the beans right away, does he? Tell Eumaeus who he is.
Oh, not at all. He tests Eumaeus. He weaves these elaborate fabricated stories about his past, carefully observing Eumaeus' reactions and subtly probing for information about Odysseus and the state of affairs at the palace. It's like a psychological reconnaissance mission.
And how does Eumaeus respond to these tall tales? Does he suspect anything is amiss?
He remains completely oblivious to the beggar's true identity, but through his heartfelt responses, his sadness for his missing master, his anger at the suitor's arrogance, we see the depth of his unwavering loyalty. He's really a beacon of faithfulness in this corrupt environment.
Okay, so while all this is happening with Odysseus and Eumaeus, Telemachus is still in Sparta. What role does Athena play in his return? You said she went to nudge him.
Right. She appears to him in dreams, urging him to return to Ithaca. And crucially, she warns him of the suitor's deadly plot to ambush him.
An ambush.
Yeah, highlighting the perilous situation he's walking into. His journey home is far from a guaranteed happy ending.
Poor Telemachus. He's been searching for his father for so long, and now he's facing danger himself. Does he travel back alone?
No, he's accompanied by Pisistratus, Nestor's son, who's been a loyal companion on his quest. And Menelaus and Helen, recognizing his noble purpose, they shower him with parting gifts. It's a gesture of support as he faces these unknown dangers ahead.
And does Telemachus encounter any unexpected travelers on his voyage home? Anything unusual?
He does, actually. He picks up a prophet named Theoclymenus,
A prophet.
who's on the run after let's just say, a fatal disagreement back in Argos. Theoclymenus brings with him this element of the supernatural, interpreting a bird omen as a powerful sign of Telemachus's future power and the downfall of his enemies. These signs' importance were clearly significant to their world.
So destiny continues to play a role. It keeps popping up. When Telemachus finally arrives on Ithaca, does he make a beeline for the palace? See his mother?
Nope. Following Athena's specific instructions, he goes straight to Eumaeus' hut. This strategic move, orchestrated by the goddess, ensures the father and son will finally reunite, albeit in secret.
Ah, the moment we've been waiting for. This is big. Does Odysseus finally reveal himself to Telemachus there, in Eumaeus' humble abode?
He does. Athena intervenes once more, appearing just to Odysseus and prompting him to cast off his beggar disguise. Imagine that scene, the weathered king, finally face to face with the son he hasn't seen in 20 years. It must have been an incredibly charged and emotional moment.
Yeah, I bet. It's the turning point we've been anticipating. So what's their immediate plan? Do they just launch a full-scale assault on the palace right then and there?
They understand the odds are massively stacked against them. Their first priority is to plot the suitor's downfall carefully. So they agree to keep Odysseus' return a secret for now. Surprise and deception will be their greatest weapons.
That makes strategic sense. Outnumbered like that. So Telemachus heads back to the palace alone then, leaving Odysseus behind for the moment.
Yes. He returns and is greeted by Penelope and his loyal nurse, Euryclea. He keeps his meeting with Odysseus totally secret, maintaining the facade and allowing his father to gather more information from within. The tension in that palace must be absolutely palpable.
You can just feel it building. And Beggar Odysseus eventually makes his way to the palace too, doesn't he? Still under Eumaeus' wing.
Correct. Still in disguise, he accompanies Eumaeus to the palace, and the reception he receives is, well, predictably hostile. He's subjected to insults and abuse, particularly from the arrogant Antinous and that treacherous goatherd Melanthius. It's a stark reminder of how far his household has fallen.
God, it's tough to hear about the great Odysseus being treated like dirt in his own home. Does Penelope have any interaction with this mysterious beggar? Does she talk to him?
She does. Unaware of his true identity, Penelope questions the beggar about her long-lost husband. And Odysseus, ever the master of disguise and storytelling, provides her with fabricated but deeply convincing details that stirs her emotions and offer a glimmer of hope after years of despair. He even claims to have seen Odysseus recently in Crete.
So he's really playing a dangerous game, offering hope while maintaining his secret. Things must be getting increasingly volatile with all those entitled suitors just milling around. Does any open conflict erupt, like physically?
A rather demeaning one, actually. The suitors, for their own twisted entertainment, they basically orchestrate a brawl between Odysseus and his beggar guys and another actual beggar named Iris.
Seriously, they make them fight.
Yeah. Despite his age and apparent frailty, Odysseus easily overpowers Iris, showcasing that even in disguise, a spark of his former strength remains. It's a small victory, but a telling one.
You'd think they'd learn not to judge a book by its cover, especially in Odysseus' house. So with Odysseus now inside the palace walls in disguise, Telemachus back home. What's Penelope's next move to deal with these persistent unwanted guests? She must be at her wit's end.
Well, Penelope, in a move that is both incredibly strategic and, you could argue, born out of desperation, announces a grand contest for the suitors.
A contest?
Yes. She declares she will marry the one who can string Odysseus' mighty bow, a feat of legendary strength, and then shoot an arrow cleanly through 12 axe heads lined up in a row. It's a challenge that seems utterly impossible for any of them.
Wow, talk about raising the stakes. Can any of those arrogant suitors possibly possess the strength and skill to even string that bow, let alone complete the challenge? And, well, what will happen when our unassuming beggar decides to step forward and try his hand?
Exactly.
We'll have to leave it there for now, as the Cozy Reading Club continues its deep dive into the Odyssey.
This was Cozy Reading Club, the podcast where we read the book and tell you about it so you don't have to. If you like this series, we invite you to take a look at other series in our podcast and leave a nice review on the platform you are listening this on.